Hi everyone, it's Clyde at Vibrant Soap, and today is an example of a soap where, despite me making a plan for it, which I usually do, I'll do a little diagram and I'll point to what colors that I'm going to use in the soap. I looked at that at the last minute and thought, this is way too complicated. Don't make a soap fancy for fancy's sake. Concentrate on making a beautiful soap. So I was going to make a different color sky and a different color river, and then I thought, you know what, sometimes the sky is reflected in the river anyway, so I made those the same with some blue and orange swirls, and then I put some confetti in it, and I've got some micro drizzles on top, so I didn't need any extra stuff going on. So you'll see me do all this in the soap, so let's get started right now. So the first thing I was going to do was I was going to mix some orange and gold for the bottom and swirl it together and pour it, and then follow that with two good layers of yellow and green with soap confetti in it, and then top that with some blue and orange, mainly blue with a little bit of orange swirled in, and then put a gold top to it along with the soap scrapings. But it looked a little complicated, and I thought it's not really a cohesive design. So what I decided to do was to mix some orange with some blue swirls mixed in it, and then I was going to narrow down the middle stripes with copper and green with confetti in both of those, and then top that with the same orange with blue swirls. So that kind of integrates it a little bit more, and then still keep the gold plus scrapings up on top. And that's what I ended up doing, and think it works out a lot better. Plus it's a lot easier to make that way. Okay, ready to go. There's a lot more to prep with today because of the confetti, and it's kind of a fancier soap, but I was feeling in the mood to do something a little different. Peeling clay is what makes it turn white right away, because this is just the oils and a little coconut milk along with the oils and sodium lactate. Okay, so let's get the lye in there. I'm soaping at about 72 degrees today, and you notice I'm using my smaller bowl because I altered the recipe to account for the extra bulk of the confetti, which is actually soap shavings. And I'm using the fragrance Amber Waters, which just smells really clean and fresh. Blending to emulsification. Pretty close to that right now, but I'm going to blend this a little bit too, the fragrance. That is like a really slight trace right there. And I'm going to pour my blue. Some green. These are my accent colors. Gold. It's a little heavier on the mica there so that I get some of the glimmer effect. And my copper. Changed my plans just before making the soap. I looked at it, I simplified it, and I think it'll turn out great. I think I'm going to add my orange. And do some blending. Soap's behaving. And I'm going to whisk my accent colors. And it's thickening up. And so let's see, let me get going to first get this blue in there. Wow, it is really thick. It's not supposed to thicken like this, but in the case of the soap, as you see, I want layers, so it's not going to be a biggie. So these are complementary colors, and usually you wouldn't mix them as much as I just did, but I'm learning that I can do more than I think I can and still get some color distinction. So this is going to be the bottom layer. Drop that down, and this is where I needed a container to mix my confetti in. Keep some for the top. So the green is going to have this pink and blue confetti, and just a little bit. So this is where having thicker soap really helps to distinguish the layers. And that sort of monster green is going to turn back to a nicer green once it saponifies. And I want it fairly flat, so I'm going to just use my spatula to even that out. Couldn't do this if the batter was any thinner. So the idea of doing this was to make it look like the levels of a river, and I needed the horizontal layers. Okay, so that looks okay. It's okay if it's choppy. That'll look like currents or waves. And then I'm going to use this copper. It's okay if there's a little green in there with my spatula with the green on it. Keep a little for the top. And this one is going to get the blue and purple soap shavings. Spread this out as well. Let's have a vague idea of how this is going to look as the final product. But just have to try different things. And now the rest of this is kind of gloppy, so can't stir it too much because I don't want to disturb the blue in there. So note to self, the flowery notes that I detected in this amber water's fragrance really does speed it up a little bit. I like that texture, so maybe that'll come through with this gold on top. Plans are made to be broken because the soap has its own ideas of where it wants to go, and you can't fight it. It's kind of like an extension of my last video where I talked about being calm. If you think you know what to expect, you may be disappointed because it's going to do what it's going to do. Also, temperature, little differences in how you mix your batch up. They're little micro differences because we can only measure ingredients to the best of our ability, and it may be off by, you know, 1/100th of an ounce, but little things like that may make a difference. Also, how long you blend. I do like that gold top, which was one of the things I didn't plan. I just wanted something at the last minute to represent the amber. So I still have some colors left. Let's see if I can get enough out of there for every bar. Almost. I'll take a thin metal spoon to get that across the edge. Texture that just a little bit. Like waves. I have some mica drizzles too. Of course I do. Some of the same blue that I have inside the soap. And more of the copper. Get some shine on top. So we can tidy this up a little bit. And finally, a little cleaning up on the sides. Not too deep because I don't want to make a trench. When the soap is set up as much, it leaves this little trench that is visible in the cut bars. Then I tend to pound it down enough to fill those gaps again. Clean this up. Okay, so here's the Amber Rivers, and we'll see how it turns out for the cut. I like that blue. Okay, I'm ready to cut Amber Rivers. And the reason for the gold color and the copper color was to get that kind of amber effect. Just a little bit of a layer of confetti, soap shreds in the center there. That gold still has a shimmer there, that's nice. So I wanted it to look like currents, so I'm happy about that. And waves on top. I really did alter my plans for this soap. Got that gold up there. I just made some color and simplicity decisions. This was going to be different from that, and I just thought that's sometimes being fancy for fancy's sake is not the best choice. So kind of caught myself there. Yeah, I'm happy about that. Yeah, everything behaved well. It did start to accelerate a bit. So I use the guidelines on fragrance companies, and if they say it won't rise or it won't accelerate, kind of take that with a grain of salt. Just because you got to be ready for anything. But it was still workable. Some nice bit of gold on top there. I really like that bright green too. I changed that also. I was going to use a more muted green, kind of darker green. But I thought if I just reduce that to just a little sliver, then the brightness doesn't take over. That's a general rule of thumb. If something calls out for a lot of attention, then you don't need as much of it. The swirls are really nice about that. Now remember when I made the soap, how much I really stirred the blue with the orange, which usually would be a bad thing to do because you could mix the two and end up with a muddy color. But I find that by slicing through the soap batter with a sharp edge of the spatula, that it's not as much mixing the colors as just kind of slicing through, and I don't get that muddiness that we don't want. It also depends on how fluid your batter is, because the more fluid it is, the easier the colors will mix together. So that's a nice cheery soap, especially with some of the soap beveling shavings that were bright. You remember that magenta color really, again, holds to that rule, even though it was by chance of brightest colors being used less in the design. And thank you for watching. By this time, I hope you had a nice holiday and were able to figure something out to be with the ones you love, even if it was by Zoom calls or whatever is at your fingertips. And I'll see you for the next video real soon. Still trying to keep up with that. It's been almost a year of producing a video every week, and I want to keep that up, as crazy as things have been here sometimes. And thanks for the comments, visiting and buying off the web store at vibrantsoap.com, subscriptions, all that, and just letting me know that you're out there is very comforting. And we'll see you next time, okay? Take care. Bye, everybody.